Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, please do us a favor and subscribe. You would really be helping us out. Thank you so much. Let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited. Today, I've got actress Zoe Winters with me. So welcome, Zoe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy we got to get together. I'm such a fan of yours. And I think I've seen everything I've seen you in and the interviews I've seen you in. You're always just so positive and happy to be there. I love that.
So you want a little something different this time? I can make it real depressing.
Yeah,
real.
let's get real sad.
Let's change it up.
I always say, like, I don't think I could hold anger or like sadness. I can get there. I just can't keep it there. I'm just naturally, tend to be more positive.
Oh, that's so lucky. That's so lucky.
Some would say that's so annoying. When I was younger, I used to be angrier, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you do that when you're younger, you're just more aggressive, I think. I've mellowed through the years.
Did you mellow naturally, or did you seek out help around it, or did you?
No, just naturally. I was, me being more aggressive is still pretty tame. It's still pretty tame. But over the years, I've become a little more mellow.
Yeah.
I've embraced the happiness.
Yeah. I can have some stuff come up. You're not alone.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, I always wonder, what's the trigger? Everybody's got that trigger. I wonder what my trigger is that would set me off. And even if it set me off, I'd probably last like 3 seconds and it'd be over. And then I'd feel bad.
Maybe we'll find out today.
That's right. We'll delve into that. Start berating me and see if anything happens. No, Zoe, thank you so much. This is going to be fun. And you said you've been watching some of the interviews, so you know where I like to start.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what got you into entertainment. What made you want to become an actor?
I grew up in a very artistic household. My father was a musician and an amazing guitarist and singer. And so my brother and I, who's 4 years older than me, we would play with him, play gigs with him. And so we started performing at an early age, but songs and being on stage singing. And my mom, is a modern dancer and has a dance group called Mamalution. So a little very free household, little hippie vibe, big extended family, a lot of artists, a lot of support around pursuing art. So I felt very encouraged and held in that decision to go for it. And so I was always doing it. And I took improv classes as a kid, and, my parents were great about introducing me to lots of things. So
they weren't worried about you going in. A lot of times parents are like, oh, no, you gotta go into more of a real.
Yeah, field. I think that, yeah, I know it's interesting. It is scary, and it is challenging, and there can be so much instability, and I've been there can be so much there can be so much joy in it, and then also so much insecurity and doubt, and also not a lot of money, and so it is an interesting line of work. But I think every line of work you could either love it or not love it. So I think that my parents really wanted their kids to love what they do, and so they really supported us around pursuing it. I when I was graduating from high school and looking into colleges, I don't remember this active choice of thinking I'm going to go to a conservatory and pursue that education and what that means. we just did it. So I don't remember that choice, which seems like it's a big choice.
Sure.
but it felt very natural, and I feel very lucky for the family that I grew up with, because we were really encouraged around that, which is great.
That's pretty great. It had to be kind of fun. I think it's always fun when families can get together and be creative. You know, that's because a lot of times you only have like one member of the family that's kind of creative and everybody else is not.
Right.
So it's neat when everybody has that.
It's so fun. Sometimes rehearsals at home, could get a little, sometimes I could get a little impatient. I had a temper for sure as a kid. So sometimes family rehearsals could be a little loaded, some storming out, maybe some throwing of things once in a while.
I had older cousins, and there's a lot of us. So there was a big group of cousins, and they would always force me to be in these plays that they would perform for the bigger part of the family. So I never, I would always be the non-speaking whatever tree or something, because I was so shy. I couldn't handle it. But they would have the best time performing these plays, and all I can remember about it is just being miserable. I did, but I always admired how much they were enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really, and I took great improv classes. I was really drawn to tragedy, and so all my improv would eventually become depressing. But I have this one friend. I hope she's okay with me saying this, but she's taken improv a couple times, and she has this, there's just something in her brain that blocks her. And every time she does improv and somebody comes to her with an improv, she just turns and goes, what's this bag of potatoes doing here? Everything. Like, you're with a therapist. What's this bag of potatoes doing here? So I love that. Improv is so difficult, but I did love it as a kid. So it was really fun. It was great growing up with an artistic family, and my brother's a musician and an amazing singer, and my mom still dances. And so, I think that's so great. Do you play an instrument yourself? I don't. I thought I would be good at the guitar just because my dad was, but I'm not good. I played the piano for a little while. I could memorize, which maybe is where I ended up, where I eventually ended up. I do have a good muscle for memory, but I would memorize. I couldn't read music, but I could memorize where all the notes were. So I was okay with playing the piano because I could always find my way through it, but there was no real talent going on, really. It was just memory.
I think, and there is a difference there, right? I mean, musicians that are really good at it, it's just kind of instinctive. They don't have to memorize anything, because I'm kind of like that too. I'm really good with the memory part of it, but have absolutely no talent.
Yeah.
So if I had to fake it, I might be able to get through a little bit, but you'd figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah. You can't lie with an instrument.
No.
You can lie with a couple of things, but if something sounds wrong musically, you can just immediately tell.
Yeah.
But I thought I would. I took some guitar classes, but I have a little bit of an issue of thinking I'm going to be good at things and then definitely not being good at them. Every time I set out to play a game, I'm 100% convinced I'm going to win, and I almost always lose. I mean, I just am. But then again, every time I start again, I'm just convinced I'm going to annihilate my opponent.
That confidence probably comes in handy with acting.
Yeah. I don't have it with acting. I definitely don't head in thinking I'm going to be great in this. That's a rare occurrence. But anything game wise, I'm really sure. I have a lot of competition with very little skill.
I was going to say, you are probably wonderful to play board games with.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I think I'm a little intimidating, and then the other person quickly realizes there's just nothing to be afraid of. There's just no talent across the table.
But what's your reaction when you actually get beat or you're losing? Are you a flip the board type of person? You know, do you cheat? What's your?
I don't cheat. I don't cheat. I'm a very honest person around that stuff. I don't cheat, but I can get frustrated, or I can start feeling like the other person is maybe trying to sabotage me. I had a friend come into town recently. I was at home in California visiting my mom. I'm from Northern California. She still lives there. So I was visiting her in the Bay Area, and a friend came over, and it was right after the pandemic, and it was kind of during a scary time. So we all got tested, and we isolated. We just had one night together where it was really safe to be indoors. And we started to play categories, and I just started to lose it. And she had to pull me aside and remind me that we just had one night and it wasn't worth it to have it end in a fight. So I recovered, but yeah, I can get frustrated. But I'll admit that the other person won. I won't say like you cheated or, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time. So I have to have somewhat of a prepared.
You got to be realistic about it.
Yeah.
We had a 50th anniversary party a couple years ago for my parents. So,
sweet.
You know, it's just me and my brother, but all of our kids were there, most of them with their significant others. And they were playing a game of Clue. And during the game, they had to stop and come and eat. You know, we had dinner. So while they were doing that, I went and I changed a couple of the cards, right? I wasn't playing.
In your kid's favor?
No, I just switched the actual winning card, you know, the ones that are hidden that you're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I switched a couple of them. So they were in, and you know, they had their little sheets marked off and stuff, trying to figure it out. It upset them so bad because they couldn't figure out why it wasn't right. Right. So I finally, after they've been in there a while, I finally admitted it. It took some of them months to get over that. They were like, they wouldn't tell me they were mad at me, but I could tell they were mad.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's totally messed up that you did that.
I felt like I still think it's kind of funny, but I felt so bad about it because they got so upset. They're so competitive. I'm like, where do you get this competitiveness? Yeah, I don't advise it.
Yeah.
If you have a family that, or, you know, a group that's very competitive, I don't advise switching the cards out on Clue.
Yeah.
Bad move. That's bad dad. So you kind of made a name for yourself on the theater side. You know, was that always your intention to go into theater? Did the, you know, TV movie side, did that come later, or you know, how did that work out?
Yeah, I really just studied theater in school. I mean, that was really the focus. We had a little class on film and TV, but it was really, the focus was theater, and that's really what that's why I came to New York, and I really wanted to be in theater. I always loved theater. I loved live performance. I loved being in the same room with people, having a story unfold at the same time for everyone in the same moment. I'm exhilarated by that. So that really was my focus. And surprisingly, what I didn't know, I knew I was going after theater, but what I didn't know was that I would work on so many new plays. That kind of came as a surprise, and such a happy surprise for me. I really studied the classics and thought I was going to do a lot of Shakespeare and Chekhov and Williams and Ibsen and Shaw, and I would still love to do all of those plays, but I have been so lucky to work on these new plays, and new play development is such a satisfying experience because you're in the room and the writer's there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you are, and it's you know, often a world premiere, and so you don't know how it's going to be received, and there's something bold and daring and courageous about that, about really committing yourself to telling a story purely out of the desire to tell it, and not because you know it's going to be a hit, or because you know it's going to be well received, or that audiences will love it. There's really that pure thing of everyone gathering in a room to do something that they believe in, divorced from any notion of how it will land on an audience. And also just storytelling. It's been so informative for me in all of my work to watch and experience and participate in new play development, because just this magical thing of first of all, I mean, watching writers work and watching new pages come in, and then going into previews and having new pages continue to come in, and suddenly you're on stage and you're like, oh, I could really just, I mean, I could, you know, sometimes they'll just be new lines, but sometimes they'll just take pieces of text and just move it. And you're just performing it for, you know, in front of an audience for the first time. So sometimes you're like, you know, there's a chance I could just end up starting over at the beginning of the play. This could be a 5 hour night. I might just get totally lost, but there's something great about that.
I mean, that doesn't mix you up a little bit when they're changing dialogue after you've already kind of memorized the dialogue? That doesn't throw you for a loop?
It's definitely takes focus, but that's part of the process, and that's part of the beauty of it. I love when writers are rewriting during previews, because it's such an informative time. It's when the script is finally being shared with an audience, and you're seeing how it's landing, and you're seeing how they're receiving the story. And so it has to happen. I'm all for it. And I find the whole process just intoxicating. I love working on new plays. And I think that just like the amazing thing of working on a play and cutting out something that maybe feels expositional or too illustrative, and cutting out and thinking, okay, we're cutting this chunk of the plot or the story, and let's see, and then audience is still receiving it. That amazing thing of it just reminds me of, like, you know, in painting, when painters paint over previous parts of the painting, and it's all buried in there, and that you're not necessarily seeing it, but you're receiving it. And that's kind of how I sometimes experience new play development, is all the work is there, all the foundation is there. And so even as you start to edit and cut away and really crystallize the story that you want to tell, the audience still receives the whole history of it, and story that you don't even say, they just feel it. I'm so in love with it, with theater.
I really love that analogy with painting. My wife paints.
Oh,
and
yeah?
she'll paint something. She'll have, you know, she'll work on it for several hours, have something there. And I think, boy, that looks great. And then a little bit later, she'll add a layer to it. I was like, man, that's even better. And she just keeps doing that layer after layer. Every time I think it's finished, she's adding more to it. And by the end of it, it's still recognizable from what it was to begin with, but it's so much more vibrant. You know, it's like it's fleshed out so much more. And that amazes me that there's people out there that can see, like in their head, they can see that, when I would have finished the first time and been like, I'm done. There it is. Yeah. So I get that. Like, I get that people that write, especially for something like a play, I get that how they can just continually fine tune it till they get to the point. But somewhere in there, they're kind of seeing that. So they know that whatever they've done, it's not quite finished. And I just think that's neat.
Yeah. And the humility of the whole process is so beautiful too. Like change, like just being like, oh, this is working and this isn't working. And same with acting, like, oh, this is not working, or having, you know, your scene cut because it doesn't serve the story, and just the not getting attached and knowing that you're serving the telling of a story over certain moments or ideas or fun, you know, little pockets of the play. So that really that's a huge love affair of mine, is the theater. It's been an amazing journey. I'm so grateful for the theater. I'm really unabashedly a fan of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you write any yourself?
So I had written short stories that were autobiographical and kind of like coming of age and like dealing with the awkwardness, some of them very inappropriate. And then I had done a version of them some years ago and had some music played. And then my dad said, I should play the music. I'll come out to New York and let's do it together. And I was like, well, I'm talking about really inappropriate stuff.
Right.
And he's like, well, but let's do this. You read the stories and then I'll play the music. And I'm like, yeah, but like, it's so inappropriate to have like, and he's like, well, let's not be father and daughter on this one. Let's just be artists. And I always thought that was so sweet. But we also have the same, we have the same name and we looked exactly the same. So obviously everyone knew. It was a little weird, but we owned it.
I think that's great.
Yeah. And then during the pandemic, I started writing again. And I started writing more narrative, longer pieces. So I've been working on a show, which is really fun.
That's great.
But because I really felt, I did do some amazing Zoom readings during the pandemic, and like some things that felt very much like productions almost. So, but there's, a theater really is, I believe, a space that exists in a room breathing the same air. And that was just something that we couldn't do together. So I really wanted to find a way to stay creative and keep exercising those muscles of creativity. So I did start writing more and finding other little outlets of creativity, things I could do on my own. Yeah.
I love that. That's so terrific. So what got you to the TV side of it? Is that something you decided to do, or did somebody come to you and say, hey, you should try this?
I was always auditioning. It wasn't that I was opposed to doing TV and film. I've always loved that art form. I didn't know if it was for me. I didn't know if that was actually the fit. I started kind of thinking, I think I'm going to have a life in the theater, and that's really going to be it. And then maybe once in a while I'll have, a little guest star and I'll make some money. And I was so happy with what I've had. I think that a lot of people sometimes view TV as like, and then you built up and then you did, but I've worked with, I think, like some of the all-time greatest artists in the world, Susan Laurie Parks, Lucas Nath, Caryl Churchill. Just unbelievable playwrights, and watching their process. Will Arbery. It's just been so fun. So for me, I was like, this is great. I'm so lucky to live this life. And I didn't know if TV was actually really my medium, or film. I didn't know if the camera was my medium. But I was still auditioning. And then I auditioned, I did a little bit of, I had done some TV. I did a lot of like, I'd come on to a procedural and I'd have like a nervous breakdown, like, like you just got to come in with all of the emotional heavy lifting sometimes these small parts are kind of hard because, somebody's like, where were you on the 9th? And you're like, I'll tell you, so then you gotta like just be really, so sometimes they're kind of intimidating because you got to walk onto a new set and you don't have much time there and you got to do some big scene, but it was very fun. I loved the little jobs that I got, and I enjoyed it when I did it, but I was really mostly doing the theater. And then I auditioned for Succession in, I can't remember what year now, but I came in at the tail end of season 2. So I was on it. And then that was amazing. It's an incredible set to be on, and what an unbelievably talented group of people. But then that season ended and I was doing theater again. And then when I came back on for season 3, I didn't know what the plan was exactly. So I didn't know what was going to happen with the story or the plot or where it was going to go. So it's been kind of amazing. I think that how it happened, I don't know totally. I mean, Succession is really devoted, and it's part of the reasons that show is brilliant. Like, they are truly devoted to story. So that is really always at the forefront of like, what is the story we're telling? And so I don't know exactly how it came to be, how my character and my character's involvement came to be part of the story. But I do know also that some of the creators and writers had seen me on stage, and I knew I had had a great time being with them in season 2. So how it started to develop a little bit more, I'm not sure, but I do know, or I feel that they're just always thinking about stories. So I think that they thought of me as part of the story, which I feel so fortunate about.
It was neat seeing your character develop as season 3 went on. Like it was almost like she started to have a voice, as the season went on, but nobody was happy about it.
Yeah. I know, whenever she talks, it's like, who's this person? Yeah, I know, it was so fun. And that show, I mean, I just love that show so much. And I was a huge fan of it before I was on it.
Yeah.
And the storytelling and the writing and the directing and the acting, I mean, that is an incredible piece of art, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. And but for me, what was also so fun is I really Succession is what really made me fall in love with this medium. I didn't know if it was going to be for me. I had had these experiences of walking onto a set, and everybody was so nice, and everybody was always, it's not like I had bad experiences, but I didn't have what I've gotten in the theater, which is you have like these truncated, often, 2-month processes of getting close really quickly and endeavoring into the unknown together. And you kind of have these fast track relationships, and you're holding each other through something of while you have you're a united front in your commitment to something, and you come to rehearsal every day and you build this company. And I never had that experience, just because I hadn't had been on a show so often. And so this experience made me feel like I was part of a company, and made me feel like I was part of a group that was heading out to tell a story. And that was so fun. And that's really what I mean, just to be on these sets and to watch the camera people work, and to watch, they're like dancers. I mean, just the way they're catching all of the movement and the way that they move around the space. It's so gorgeous to watch this set operate. And the writers the writing is so brilliant, and also the acting. I mean, these are difficult people, but that show is who the people really are in real life, are so welcoming and so generous. And I was nervous around walking onto, a hit show of an all-star cast, and like how am I going to fit in? And everyone was so warm and so welcoming, and so no ego and no
that's awesome.
Just very, very warm. It's an amazing experience. So
but it's stressful, like watching it is stressful. It's very tense all the time.
So tense. It's so tense. But on set, it's very playful and alive. And also they have these beautifully written scenes, and then they shoot these long scenes. So it kind of reminds me of the theater as well. Like, you get to really play out these long scenes, and they have 2 or 3 cameras going at the same time. So you can really be alive, and they're always catching you. I mean, that's what's so amazing about even having a role in Succession that maybe doesn't speak as often or have the most lines, like you're still very much like everybody is such an instrumental part of the picture and of the story, and they're catching everything and everyone's reaction and everyone's, you know, where the alliances are built and who's doubting who and who's betraying whom. And so it feels like you're on stage in a way. It's very alive. It's really fun.
Yeah. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. Yeah. I think if I was going on a show that was very tense, and then the actors weren't inviting, I would be a mess. I'd be a disaster. I'd be stressed out all the time.
Yeah, it'd be so scary, but it's the opposite. People are playful and warm and encouraging, you know, like if you try things. And I mean, I think that is what, because I work with Brian Cox so much, I think that, you know, when I was reading about and researching and kind of getting ready for the part and reading about these dynasties and these media moguls and the people running them, and they have these like fan clubs around them, and they kind of, there's this fandom, there's this like very like fervent fandom around them, even if it's completely unearned. But for me, what is so easy about playing this part is that I am genuinely a fan of Brian Cox as well. I mean, I just think he's so joyous and so fun and very inviting and always encouraging me to try something. And if I have a little moment, he welcomes it and plays off of it. It's just great. It's a dream job.
Yeah. That sounds pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, because you get to explore just a little bit. I think that's neat.
Yeah.
So I've seen you on a few things. You tend to pop up on some really good shows.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I saw you on Hunters.
Yes.
You were like a congresswoman, I wanted to say.
That's a real woman. That's an amazing woman. That was a cool part in the 70s and everything. That was very fun. And my hair was,
I know you get to like dress 70s style. That's pretty neat.
Very fun. It was very fun. I really liked that part.
When we saw you on, we had Saul Rubinek from Hunters was on last week, and he was terrific. He was terrific. But I saw you on, I wanted to say, The Good Place. Was that right? The Good Fight. The Good Fight. I knew I'd messed up The Good. I was trying to think it wasn't The Good Wife. It was the next one. The Good Fight. My wife and I enjoyed you on that one. Yeah.
Also based on a real person.
Really?
They created these, this kind of network to be able to keep in touch with one another around, you know, if they had experienced sexual harassment or rape in some cases and just misconduct. And they had developed this, I'm blanking on her name, which I shouldn't be, but they had developed just a tracking system that they were sharing. Some people were sharing, some women were sharing. So that was based on a real person too.
That makes it even better, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's such a good show as well.
Yeah, that's a great show too. And amazing actors on that. I do feel really lucky. I've been on all these great shows and had these really, really fun, amazing, complicated parts. And then it was great to just be on a show and get to keep coming back to the set and develop, friendships.
Well, and who knows where you're going to go in season 4? Who knows?
Right. Who knows?
Hopefully season 4 is quicker now that we're past the pandemic stuff. Hopefully it's coming out quicker than season 3 did. That was for fans, that was a long wait.
Right. It was amazing though. I mean, it was an incredible, the COVID compliance team that they put together and the safety precautions. I mean, we were so well taken care of, and the protocol that they put around that was wildly impressive.
Well, and it was worth the wait. That season was terrific.
It was great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
You're one of our favorite ones on there though.
Really?
Because I love it when you're in a scene, because maybe it's the theater, part of you, but like you give a lot without having to say a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you're in, like, your character's in these kind of stressful situations, and
Yeah.
you don't know 100% what her motivations are.
Yeah.
And she's starting to find her voice, and you're like, you can read a lot into the expressions and the body language you're given, which I love that part.
Yeah, totally. And it's also just like even her clothing progression is also like, she's getting money.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I have a whole background for Carrie, and I feel like I have explored her very in depth. So I definitely have a huge internal life going on, and a lot going on with Carrie.
Yeah, I hope we get more. Like, we learned more about her background, and how she and Logan got kind of tied together. We want more.
Right. Yeah. And I also just think, if you're actually looking at when she came into the company, she joined this company during the height of this sexual misconduct scandal with the cruise line.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
As heading into congressional hearings, it's like
she knew what she was getting into.
Yeah. Who joins a company?
Not too many.
So she, I think there's a lot going on with Carrie.
I think so too. That's why I was like, we need to see more of that. And I think we will. I know you probably don't know yet, but it's got to be exciting. You got to be thinking, something's going to be happening.
I just always am so excited when this show comes out, because they're so, I think it's just such a beautifully sculpted show. But I also think what's so amazing around the writing on this show is how little hand-holding they do of the audience, how they're really
they don't dumb it down.
No, and they don't take care of you, and they don't they take care of you in the sense that it's wildly entertaining, and it is a satire, and it's hugely engrossing, but they don't take care of you as far as giving you too much exposition or spelling things out for you, and it causes this thrum of, first of all, in the characters, mistrust and doubt and anxiety with one another, and then also in the audience watching it is that same so it's both anxiety inducing and really difficult to digest, and also kind of intoxicating in a way, because there's such a mystery to it, because they're not giving you anything that wouldn't naturally unfold within the story they're telling. So it's
that's a really good way to explain it. One of my complaints with a lot of shows is you're watching it, you can see what's going on, but they feel the need to tell you exactly what's going on.
Right.
You've been watching the show, so you know what happened. You don't need to recap it for me. Right. We just watched it 5 minutes ago.
Right.
They say things that like I don't have a good example, but they say things that real people wouldn't say.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. They're just saying it for the audience, which I'm not a fan of that. And this show absolutely does not do that. You better be paying attention. You better put the phone down and pay attention to the dialogue, or you're going to be lost.
Yeah. And I also think, I always think that the hardest thing to accomplish in any artistic endeavor with relationships is like a sense of history and a sense of shared history. And that's something that you can't fake, and that you can only accomplish through good storytelling, good writing, good directing, good acting. And I think that this show has that as well. And I think that because there is this knowledge of one another and shared history that they all have, that we feel so much, it really just hits this chord of anxiety in a way, because there's so much that's unknown, but ultimately it's a story about family, and so there's so much that's known as well, and maybe we as the audience don't necessarily know it, but what's happening between these two people is old and deep, and
that's right,
tortured in many.
It's been building over years and decades,
Yeah.
Yeah. So is Carrie is she, it's a satire of a show. So is she based on someone that's out there or a group of people that she, is that character based on somebody?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that I definitely looked into, how certain like ankle tours or Tommy Lahrens like came into being.
Right.
Like I've definitely looked at certain personalities and public commentators just for my own research. But no, I don't think that she is, that I know, based on anybody.
Yeah. That you know.
That I know. It could be. I don't know.
Maybe we'll find out. I don't know. Zoe, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Thank you so much.
You have to come back. We got more to talk about.
Oh, yes, I would love to. I mean, you did say at one point that you were going to ask me about maybe some other interests, and so I did. I pulled down from my shelf. Let's get to it. I've been playing with children's clay just because it's easy and you don't have to bake it.
What is children's clay? Is that like Play-Doh? What is that?
You didn't have to say Play-Doh. But one thing that I made recently that I thought I could share if you asked the question, and then you didn't ask, so I guess I'm sharing.
Well, no, you consider it asked.
But I made a sculpture of the inside of this person's brain who I know, because it was kind of like, I wanted to give them a picture of their.
Yeah. All right. I like this. I need somebody to do, I want somebody, do you need to do it for me?
Yeah. Okay. Next time I come on. But
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I made this brain.
That's so much prettier than what would happen if you did mine.
And here's like kind of all these messages in a bottle. And
I love that. Have they seen it yet?
Yeah, they saw it and they loved it. But I love it so much that I don't know if I can give it to them anymore.
Yeah, that is what gave you that idea. You're very artistic.
You too can play with Play-Doh.
Yeah, that's.
So these are just all parts of their brain, and then at the back. Yeah.
I'm so glad you went ahead and brought that out. Shame on me for not asking. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. So there's a little world in there.
Yeah,
so
you need to. Okay, you need to give up this acting gig. I think we found.
Like maybe this is my calling.
That is your calling. Play-Doh sculptures of people's brains. That's your calling. You could do like famous people's brains. That's all. You'd have a whole thing.
I know. You're right.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's so much time.
It's not too late. That's very unique too. What gave you that idea?
So they had done an interview and they had like talked about the inside of their brain. And then I made them a gift and I thought, what would be a good gift? And then I was like, oh, I know. And so I made this brain and it was so fun and it took so long. So I was like, this will be great. It'll be like a couple hours, days.
Yeah. Maybe this isn't the route you need to go if it took so long.
Well, it has to dry, then you have to paint it,
Yeah. So you didn't have to, did you have to fire it? Or is it?
No, not with children's clay.
Oh.
Not in the medium that I'm working in. You don't have to fire
right. it. I like that. So you made him this gift and then decided you can't have it?
Yeah, it's still at my house. I don't know. Yeah. It's like the best thing I've ever made. I just don't know if I can bear to part with it. But.
Well, now you've got to replicate it and then you can give.
Yeah. Well, I'll research. I'll keep researching you. And next time I come on,
yes,
I'll have your brain.
Yes, and that's all we'll talk about. That'll be the whole episode.
That would be great.
Because there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. 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 And there's, I do it all. I do it all. I put everything that's in there, I really try to represent the person.
This is like my new favorite idea. Like you could do a whole like YouTube channel. You could bring it out and then explain everything that's on it. I'd watch that show.
Really? My gosh. You and my mom, I'd have 2 followers.
Yeah. Me and mom, we'd be right there. Has she seen it?
Yeah. She was like, wow.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. She thought it was awesome. Yeah. There's a whole world in there.
Yeah. That's pretty great. I mean, do you have any you got any weird friends so that, like dark friends? So it'd be a very dark type of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love it. I loved it. It was very meditative. And also there's something so great, even though I love acting more than anything. And when I am really my happiest is when I hit one of those moments where you're just hit some sort of fugue state and you're just into it and you're just acting. It's so fun. But there's also something relaxing around doing something creative where you don't care if it's bad. I care so much if the acting is good and the story's being told well. But this, I was like, it's not like, I'm an expert with Play-Doh. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you get to bring your vision to life. That's awesome.
But it was very fun to be creative and just not be so attached to it being good, which ultimately I think is how I should approach acting as well. Just tell the story. Don't worry about how it's going to come out. But it's hard to have a longing to make sure it's great.
Well,
so
yeah,
that was fun too.
Well, you did a great job.
Thanks.
There's a lot of pressure though, because now you've set the standard, so you have to.
Right, but I'm thinking, what's the pressure? Like who else works with Play-Doh?
You're it. As far as I know, it's like you and my grandkids.
Exactly. So, also the field, I have a little bit of a lead just by being an adult.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's some inherent advantages there. Yeah. Well, Zoe, thank you so much. I'm so glad you brought that out. That was awesome. That was terrific.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh yeah, me too. This has been so fun. Couple little things before you go. Anything else you're working on that we can keep an eye out for? In your spare time when you're not Play-Doh.
Yes. Yeah. I have this channel called Play-Doh with Zoe. I'm working on this amazing show called Flatbush Misdemeanors. And it's on Showtime, and it's really a great show. And it's I'm loving it. So I'm currently working on that, and I'm just having the best time. It's a great group and very talented group. And
what's the genre great for that?
It's comedy. I mean, it's created by Kevin Iso and Dan Perlman, and it's and they're comics, and so it's definitely a comedy. But there's also a lot of there's a great story around friendship and also living in New York, and there's a lot of I won't tell you too much, just so you can watch it. One season has come out, so we're shooting the second season. But there's also,
I'm looking for new things to binge. So
so it's a comedy. There's also a lot of drama in it, and a lot of thought-provoking stories in it, and the acting is really good and really moving at times, and very funny and very bold. And I'm just having a great time. I'm having a great time.
All right, I'm sold. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. Did I see you were doing a movie too, or had done a movie?
Oh yeah, I shot this movie with Ben Kingsley, and it's called, so that's coming out.
Jane Curtin's in that too, right?
Oh yeah, and Harriet Harris, great,
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
So that should be coming out. Yeah, I shot that in October. That was really, what an amazing group, and I got to work with Ben Kingsley a lot, and that was amazing. And then I'm also working on this project with Susan Laurie Parks through the public, some writing, and that has been amazing. And I was lucky enough to do a play with her a couple of years ago, and so to be in the room with her is just a complete gift. She's a brilliant artist. So yeah,
you got a full plate.
Yeah, and all this, this time with Play-Doh, it's just.
I know. I don't know you. Yeah,
exhausted.
I'm amazed you had time to do this podcast.
I was so honored, so honored.
So last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media?
Oh, I am on Instagram.
Yeah, I found you there.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the best one.
Is it?
I think so, because it's mostly just pictures.
Pictures. I resisted it for a while, and I think social media is hard and can make, I don't know, especially with you're always talking about the things that you're doing. You're never talking about how you're just sitting making clay for like 48 days in a row, so it's hard. And especially in a line of work where you're working and then you're not working and then you're working and then you're not working. I think it can be depressing but I kind of resisted it, because I partly, I think I was scared of it, and I was scared of being bad at it. And also made me feel like, oh, this is the whole story of what's going on. Like people are also struggling but then I started using it to talk about, what I'm working on and the people I'm grateful to be working with, and tried to embrace it, because I do think it's something that people do now. So I'm trying not to resist it as much, but
that's right. Don't be that person.
I'm on Instagram.
Yeah. You gotta join in a little bit.
Right.
If everybody would use them correctly, it'd be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's hard, people say things and you're out of work, and so you think like, oh, am I the only one that's not working? And it's tough.
Well, that's the downside, because it can be very negative. If everybody would keep it very positive, much better.
Yeah. But I like looking at food. Like, I like looking at what people are having, like when they go out to
me
dinner.
Too. Yeah, I do too. All right, Zoe, thank you so much. And definitely we got to do it again.
Okay, I would love
when
that.
You finish the Play-Doh stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I'll let you know.
And you're welcome. All right, hold on one second. All right, so that was the terrific Zoe Winters. That was so much fun. She's terrific and such a good actress. I'd love to see her on stage. So hopefully I'll get to do that at some point. But love her in Secession. If you haven't watched it yet, what are you waiting for? Everybody's watching that one, and she is so good in it. She, especially this last season, she was really good in season 3. So check that out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please keep coming back. We appreciate that so much. If you haven't done so already, we could use the help with our YouTube page, MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. We're a up and coming podcast. We've grown so much more than we ever thought possible, but we're still trying to get there. So help us out. Hit subscribe. It's free. There's tons of interviews on there. I guarantee you'll find somebody you like. You can find all of our interviews, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, all that will be on the website, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye, everybody.